So I had a profile on Match.com, and this woman named Grace, blonde hair, blue-eyed, heavy, said that she was interested in me, and like, you know, how can we talk more? So I put my phone number in the message, and instantly my phone rang, and she's like, "Oh, I think you're beautiful. I want to meet." And I said, "Oh, okay. Well, how about this weekend?" And she goes, "Okay, you know." And then so I hung up, and like 3 seconds later, the phone rings. She goes, "I want to meet you now. How do I make that happen?" I said, "Well, you could come over." So she comes over. She comes over, and she has sex with me, and was like, "Oh yeah, that was good." And she starts crying, "Oh, I miss my babies, I miss my home." And I'm like, "Oh, okay, well, see ya." She's like, "Why don't you come with me?" So I went with her in her car. She was a traveling nurse. She made a lot of money, but she was crazy, man. So I stayed with her for like 6 days, and then then coming to the entrance. When I got ready to leave, she threw a tantrum, and it was like, wow, this woman's crazy. Hey,
Hi.
I'm going home.
Going home?
Yeah.
All right, let me get you one of these.
Okay.
Thanks for having that ready.
Yeah, I know the drill.
You've been through this before.
Yeah, I've been living here a long time.
What's your name?
Paul Vasquez.
Oh, yeah, we've met.
Yeah.
Just not often.
Yeah, my daughter works for Park Service.
Yeah, good to see you.
See ya.
Have a great day.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
So that was the entrance station in Yosemite and Tioga Pass, and you don't have to pay if you're just using it to go home, so that's what I'm doing. So this Grace throws a fit, and I was like, "Wow, this woman's crazy." So she takes me home, and then like I'm like, "I'm not coming back to that crazy woman." And then so she's like, I said she wanted me to come in my car, and I was like, "My car needs work. My radiator's messed up." She's like, "I'll pay for your radiator." Well, first she was like, "I'll buy you a car." And I'm like, "No, you don't have to buy me a car. Just fix my car. Or just, you know, help me fix it." So she gave me money to buy a radiator, and then she gave me money to, when I went to leave the first time, she threw another big fit. So then, you know, I needed tires, so she bought me 4 tires. So then it turned out to be, like, she wanted me to go places with her all the time on romantic weekend getaways on her days off. And, you know, I knew California, so I would take her, like, to coast and stuff like that. But she had 9 kids. 4 of them were living there. The youngest one was like 6, and the oldest one that was living there was 17. And the kids all adored me, and I adored them. They were beautiful, fun kids. And the youngest one, she stayed in contact with me. Well, they all stayed in contact with me, but the youngest one, like, when she graduated for high school, she invited me, you know. She wrote me and told me, "You have no idea how much of an impact you had on me and our lives." And, you know, just by giving them love. So, she was a blonde-haired, blue-eyed woman, and she had the father was black, so they were all mixed race kids, and they were beautiful. And they loved me, and they were fun. Anyway, so she always wanted to go on these romantic getaways and like leave the kids at home, and I'm like, that's not fair. I said, I'm not going unless we take the kids at least every other time. And so we got to take those kids to do fun stuff, man, and they really appreciated me. We took them to Pismo Beach. I took them up to Yosemite, went inner tubing. I mean, we did all kinds of fun. Went swimming in Yosemite. I took them to play in the snow. We did fun stuff, and those kids adored me. No one had ever given them that kind of attention, and took them to do fun stuff. You know, taking kids to do fun stuff is like feeding them. You know, I fed their soul and their imagination, and they loved me for it, and it was fun. They were fun kids. Anyhow, so I tried to take my kids, and it was crazy. She was a nut job. So it ended up being where, you know, I always, when me and her would go, I was worried that she was gonna like abandon me somewhere. And this is like when I was living on almost no money. So I was always concerned that she was gonna abandon me somewhere. So I was like, I'm not going anywhere with you unless you give me enough money where if you abandon me, I can get home. So it ended up being where she had to pay me to go places with her. And then it was like, the abuse was so bad from her that I was like, I didn't want to be around her, but she paid me. So it was like, I was like a prostitute for her, you know, I was her whore. And she paid me, and I kind of became dependent on that money. Well, it was very abusive, and like, you know, I really felt like I was just a whore. And I was. You know, it was like, but I mean, you know, I got to be where it's like I didn't like the sex. She would come home from work and take a shower and jump on top of me, and I would, you know, I would pleasure her that way, and you know, it felt good. I just hated her. So I think we were together for like almost not quite a year, 10 months, and she was with me when I went on my fight, and she funded everything. You know, she paid for the motels. She bought me the outfit. She got my hair fixed for the fight. It was interesting being with her. You know, I never want to go through that again, especially with someone so abusive. I mean, I didn't mind getting paid, but she treated me like shit, and I always worried that she was going to abandon me somewhere, you know, because we would go in her car. I didn't have a good car, and yeah, so that was Grace. You know, I hated her, but I loved her kids. Her kids would come into my house afterwards and hang out with me, and they adored me. And they wanted to go to the powwow one time, which the powwow in Mariposa is on Mother's Day weekend. And she had 4 boys that had come to live with their dad at one point. And I was like, yeah, that sounds fun, but I was like, oh no, it's Mother's Day weekend. It'll kill your mom to, you know, for you guys to spend Mother's Day weekend with me instead of with her, you know. So I told them no, but they came and they camped out on my place, you know, more than once, and you know, they adored me. They adored the male energy, and you know, like I was cool to them, and so yeah, that was Grace. I was with her for during 2007 when I was doing my fight, and then after I fought, I got into jiu-jitsu because that was like my weak spot, and I trained at Bootjack Jiu-Jitsu I bought a 3-month thing, and I went every three times a week, and I never missed. Sometimes if I missed, they had a makeup session on Saturday. It was like Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and if enough people missed, then they would have a Saturday class. And so I went 3 times a week for 3 months, and I got really good. And then afterwards, I went a little bit here and there. But at the end of that 3 months, that's when I broke my ankle in 2009, and it really messed me up. I made it hard to walk, and right when I broke my ankle, this French couple came, and there was a pretty girl who I wanted to go hiking with, and you know, I felt all right. So I hiked all the way to Nevada Falls on that broken ankle, and that made it worse. And you know, my ankle never really healed right. I got a stretched ligament. I don't walk right on it, and that has messed up my knees, and that has messed up my back. So yeah, that, you know, I was gonna die from obesity, and cage fighting gave me all this time. You know, it helped me to lose 180 pounds, and when I broke my ankle, it was a slow progression to where I'm at now at 400. So I gained more than half of it back, but I've had that time. You know, it's like I've had all those years, and those were years that I went viral. You know, so that was important. That cage fighting got me to where I was in a place where I could go viral. Anyway, so during that time is when I met Krystal. So Krystal's in some of my early videos. My daughter brought her over Christmas 2008, and she is this 19-year-old blonde, beautiful, skinny thing. Just, oh man, I was like, wow, she's so beautiful. And at Christmas dinner, I was like, if you need anything, give me a call. And I gave her my card, and she called me the next day and said, can I come over? And I was like, okay. So she came over and brought me brownies, and we hung out, we smoked, we worked in the garden. I was just like, wow, this is a beautiful creature. And like, at the end of the day, we were sitting on my couch. She's like, you got a nice house here, can I move in? And I was like blown away. I was like, what? Okay, you know. So she came. She was in a relationship, abusive relationship, with a guy my age. She was 19 and I was 40 something, 43 or something like that. No, wait. In 2008, I was 46. So yeah, she was 19, I was 46, and she came, and then her cousin Toria came, and they stayed with me for weeks, and it was a beautiful time. I was in love with them. But you know, it was like not a real thing. I never had sex with her, but damn, I think we probably would have. And when she found out that I had been fixed, she wanted a baby, you know. And when she realized I couldn't give her one, then it was like, oh, she didn't want to sleep with me. Anyway, so that was Krystal. After Krystal came Grace, and the cage fighting and losing all that weight, and then. So that gets me to 2009, and after Krystal, I was like, damn, if this beautiful young creature can love me, I bet other young women can love me. And I kind of called it in, and man, they started coming from couch surfing mostly, and then Wolf. All these young women were coming from all over the world to stay with me and work on my farm and help me in my garden, and it was like, wow, incredible, man. And yeah, I was just like, I couldn't believe all these women were coming. I was like taking pictures of them and with them, and but I got to a place where it's like, okay, I lost all this weight. I'm not gonna die anymore. My whole being had been focused on fighting that battle. And you know, it's from the time that I was like 12 years old when I had that overeating incident, I realized that there was going to be a battle in my life around the time that my dad died, which my dad died at 44. So I was like, in my early 40s, I'm going to have a battle for my life. I always kind of knew that. So yeah, I had that battle for my life, and I won. At least, you know, more years, longer than my dad lived, and when I had won that battle and I was healthy, 100, lost 180 pounds. I was now 265. I was like, now what? I had no clue what to do, because like I won this battle. That was the only thing. That was as far into my life as I had ever looked. I wasn't working. I didn't really need to work. I had paid off my land, and my kids were grown, and I had money in the bank. Whoa. And I was just like lost. What do I do now, man? I went into like a really deep depression because I couldn't figure out what I was supposed to do with my life. And then in 2010, yeah, I went to a doctor and a psychologist and a psychiatrist and a shaman, and trying to figure out what I'm supposed to do, because I'm just spinning my wheels. I don't have no job. I don't need a job. So then I was like, okay, I need to be a servant for my fellow man. And I remember going into the sweat lodge in Yosemite in Indian days in June 2010, and with my son sitting next to me and Jay Johnson as the sweat leader, and in the Wahoga Indian village in a sacred sweat ceremony right before the bear dance. I was thinking, should I be a bear dancer? And I said in the sweat lodge out loud, if there's something I'm supposed to do, I won't say no. I turned my life over to spirit. I was like, I'm gonna be a servant. And that was the third week in June, and July 3rd I went viral. So like not even 2 weeks later, I went viral, and then I understood, okay, I'm not supposed to be a bear dancer, I'm supposed to be the double rainbow guy. And so that covers the time from 2004 to 2010 when I went viral. And so going viral was a whole nother chapter in my life. But that's what led up to it, The other things that led up to it was, like, I had been doing this Native American, the Yosemite Indian ceremonies for my whole, since 1986, when I met Sandra. We started doing the sweat lodges, and that spirituality gave me the grounding, the basis for being able to, like, have God come to my front yard. That, and like being a subsistence farmer, I had all these fruit trees and vegetable gardens and chickens for eggs, and I was growing pot and breeding dogs and doing YouTube. That was my being right there, and just a servant of God. And that opened me up. And you know what the crazy thing is I felt it coming. I knew something was coming. I went to my shaman, and it was like I could feel something big is coming. It's like something powerful is coming. She's like, oh, you have to be careful of something that's powerful, because is it your ego? I'm like, no, it's about me being a servant. She says, like, well, that's fine, and I said, yeah, something's coming through me. And yeah, I felt it. I was like, I remember being at the dentist, and someone was like, oh, you need it's gonna cost you like $7,000 to get the dental work you need. And I was like, well, something's coming. I can feel it. Something's gonna come that I'll be able to afford that. And she's like, oh, okay, good. Well, send me some. And, it's ridiculous when people always say, oh, give me some. They want what I got. But here's the thing. I never wanted it. It's like I just opened myself up and made myself a servant and allowed it to come through me. So that's one person I got to talk about, too, is Melinda. Melinda was my shaman friend. She was a Jewish princess. She was 7 years older than me to the day. We had the same birthday, September 5th, and she had this really beautiful house on this giant hill in Mariposa, and this magical cave that she made with all these crystals and this yurt, and it was so, you know, we started working together in the ceremonies and the shamanic ceremonies, and we became lovers. And she was gay, but we were lovers because she thought I was so beautiful, and she just loved my face. But it was never like a deep romantic love. It was more like, we have this journey to take together, and let's have sex. Why not? You know, get that out of the way. And we had a lot of sex. It was interesting. That was the first time I'd been with a woman who couldn't orgasm at all with sex, and it was like puzzled me. There was like nothing we could do to make it happen. Anyway, so, you know, that was a relationship that was doomed, but it was interesting being with her. You know, it was definitely a worthwhile thing. You know, we did some powerful stuff together, and she prepared me for being able to be the double rainbow guy. You know, she was a part of it for sure. And then when I went viral, I went over to her house to do a CNN piece. You know. Anyway, so